to Sports Bites. Welcome to Sports Bites with your host, Chris Joseph. Are you a sports fanatic who loves the thrill of the game and the delicious food that accompanies it?
And then they had chicken fingers, exotic chicken fingers.
Join us as we dive into the world of sports and the delectable bites that make the experience even better. Whether you're in the stadium, tailgating, or watching from the comfort of your home, get ready to satisfy your sports cravings with Chris Joseph on Sports Bites. Let's dig in.
What's up, everybody? It is Monday. It is Reaction Monday, and I've got some reactions for you, goddammit. I'm going to tell you, first, I need a lot of this because this weekend was really terrible for me. What's up, James? James loving life. There's my boy. It's always fun when your son hops in and says something. He was excited last night. I'm going to tell you, he's a Detroit Lions fan, has a Gibbs jersey, and they were playing terrible yesterday. And you could tell he was kind of upset about it. I get it. I'm upset watching my team play bad. But I went upstairs because something happened. I'll explain that a little bit later in the show. My dumb assery knows no bounds, okay? But I'm upstairs, and I'm watching the end of this game because Jared Goff has been playing terrible the whole day. It's 23-7. I'm like, wow, Houston's going to take it to Detroit. Nope. Detroit comes back, wins. I hear my son downstairs running around, hooting, hollering, having a good time. So it's a lot of fun. We just went out and got him an official college football, to throw around. Kick and catch, man. I'm telling you, I'm going to be working on some running drills because I sure as hell ain't fast. So I need to figure out what to do. But a lot to get into today, guys. A lot to get into today. It was a crazy weekend in both college and pro football. NBA's around. We can talk about that. But as always, if you're watching, look at all the socials down there. On X, at Sports Bites Pod 1. TikTok, follow at Sports Bites Pod. Subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. I'm not charging people to subscribe to this, but it's going to help me out. He said, yeah, I'm crazy. You ain't crazy. You just like your team, bud. He loves his team. That, but he'll sit down and watch football and ask questions, and, it just makes my heart happy, right? Makes my heart happy. But a lot to get into. The YouTube page, guys. If you subscribe to it, doesn't cost you anything. I'm not charging people for subscriptions and stuff like that. I just love to put out good content. It's a passion of mine to talk football, passion of mine to talk food. Obviously, I like to talk about bourbon. I needed some of that this weekend because both my teams lost to teams in yellow and black, and we'll talk about that. But college football-wise, it was another very, very entertaining weekend, right? I look across the top 25 games that I haven't really broken down. Oregon taking it to Maryland. Dylan Gabriel becomes the all-time leading touchdown passer. Hey, kudos to DG. I'm glad he's doing good. I'm not one of the Oklahoma people that has any ill will towards him or anything. I get it, brother. Go get you a championship, man. And he's been moving up the record. Now, he's played a lot of football, but he's been moving up the record books, doing a really good job. They take down Maryland 39-18. Ohio State not really challenged against Purdue. But they got one coming up. That could be interesting. They've got Northwestern first, and then they host Indiana. Now, Indiana has a bye week, so I'm excited to see what could be happening with the Hoosiers and the Buckeyes. But I did see it's a noon kickoff. Fox, big noon kickoff. I mean, I don't know why you don't want your game primed. I don't know, especially that game. Miami fell to Georgia Tech. They've been flirting with danger all year. And Georgia Tech, Haynes King, gritty, tough performance from Haynes King. And kudos to Georgia Tech, man. Good victory. Texas, Florida wasn't even in the same stratosphere with Texas, and it's sad because Florida has athletes. Florida has players. What is your initial reaction to the Utah AD hitting the postgame press with his rant about Utah? I get it, but in that position, I think you got to be more professional. I've seen angles of the hold call that would have, ended the game essentially, I think it was the right call. But I'll say this. You should be more professional, but I also love the passion. I didn't realize, in watching all the online vitriol, all the stuff going on, I didn't realize, I know they call it the Holy War. I didn't know BYU Utah was that serious. Those people are not playing around. They're not playing around. I think he got fined, what, Vandy, $40,000, which there were some fines handed out this weekend. LSU got fined $250,000 for throwing stuff on the field. Ole Miss gets fined $350,000 for storming the field twice. You stormed the field twice. It's. I think they said Georgia and Alabama are the only teams not to have a field storm. Look, I don't care who you are. The kick six. I don't care who you are. If that happens in a game in your rivalry, you're storming the field. Cool. But what I don't like seeing now is everybody throwing crap on the field. You heard Shedeur Sanders talking about, which I told you guys, Lubbock's a weird place. That Texas Tech game, they're flinging tortillas and they're getting into it with the ball guys. But you know what? Here's what's crazy. If BYU loses to Arizona State wins out, Colorado wins out, that is your Big 12 championship game. Yeah, but the mechanic on that, I mean, it's fine. You can sit there and say it's your issue. I get it. You know, those guys, you're also told to let the play process. That's what you're taught. Supposed to let the play process. Again, I'm not going to get into a debate about officiating because I know it's been bad. Even talking with my dad, who is a college official, and he's officiating still in Oklahoma. And he even said, he goes, I've not remembered a year where there's just been so many bad calls. There's a lot of bad calls, both NFL and college. I don't know how they fixed it. Finding the officials, take a game check away from them, something. I don't know. But they got to do something. Because it's getting bad. Tennessee took down Mississippi State 33-14. Mississippi State struggling. At least they have a worse record than Oklahoma in the SEC. Mentioned BYU, Utah. BYU kicks a field goal to win, 22-21. Notre Dame all over Florida State. Florida State decides to start firing people except Mike Norvell. Notre Dame wins 52-3, propping up Notre Dame for another playoff spot. Ashton Genty, another 209 yards, 3 touchdowns on 34 carries for the Boise State Broncos. They beat Nevada 28-21. Kansas knocked off Iowa State. Iowa State was rolling, feeling really good about themselves. You've lost 2 in a row now. Washington State still, I feel like, you remember the movie Rounders when Teddy KGB hanging around. Washington State's just hanging around, right? We're going to see if they can make a move or not. I don't think they can, but they're giving people something to think about. I mean, they're 8-1, 5-0 at home. Clemson takes down Virginia Tech 24-14. They got a big one coming up. I think it's Pitt. Yeah, Pitt. They got to go to Pitt. That's a big ACC game for Nico got hurt. Where is concussion that he is cleared protocol right today. I saw that. I saw him kind of walking off the field with a towel around his head. I didn't watch much of that game. I was watching the debacle in Como as my guys just went down. Virginia knocked off Pittsburgh. Again, Pittsburgh was riding high, lost to SMU. They've lost to Virginia. That one was crazy. Army had a 14.5-minute drive for a touchdown against North Texas. 14.5 minutes. Well, sorry, it was right at 14 minutes. 21 plays, 94 yards in the fourth quarter. It's 7-3. That's unbelievable. 21 plays, 94 yards, 13:54 of game clock. 13:54. Mean Green gave Army. They did. The Mean Green gave them all they wanted. Carson, you agree Indiana should be ranked higher? I should. I do. And I'm going to tell you why. A lot of people are sitting there and all they're saying is, look who they've played. Look who they've played. Okay. I've looked at who they've played. All right. I look at who they've played. But anybody that understands football, when you watch the Indiana Hoosiers play, all three facets of the game, special teams, defense, offense, they play it extremely well. Their star quarterback gets hurt before a big game at Washington, all the big hubbub coming in, game day, everything like that. Your starter's not there. They didn't miss a beat. This was the only game that they struggled in this week. They beat Michigan. I thought they were going to, rout Michigan. We talked about it on the game day show. I thought they would kind of like the Texas-Michigan game where Texas got out in front and kind of pulled away from Michigan. But I like Indiana, man. I think Indiana's a hell of a lot better football team than Penn State. I think Penn State's an absolute fraud. And I hate the fact that they're sitting there in that spot and could still make a playoff game. And they're gonna look like Oklahoma in one of those playoffs games and get a 50 burger hung on them. I'm not buying Penn State. I don't think they're explosive. Warren at tight end is your only weapon. So, but yeah, Carson, I agree. I think Indiana should be ranked higher. I ain't hear none of that noise, but my Vandy was way. But on Saturday, SC is they're a really good football team. So is Vanderbilt. You can say Vanderbilt's a good football team. They're better than the bottom half right now, Auburn. And Auburn's still a statistical anomaly with how well they can play on defense and how well they can look on offense. They just can't get out of their own way. Very confusing. Now, I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to be pulling for South Carolina. I'm going to be pulling for South Carolina this weekend because of this. Because of Eli Drinkwitz, and I'm going to get into it, but this guy, you jackass. I've never liked Eli Drinkwitz. All his little running up and yelling at Josh Heupel, we stand on business, Josh, and then running away, and then this stuff here. Stop, man. You fake tough guy. It's like guys in chat rooms talking about pull up. Stop. I'll give you credit. You won the football game. But this crap, you sitting there, one, you got to have a little more couth. All right? Bob Stoops just buried his mom last week. And that's what you're going to start your post-game press conference with? Is this going to make Bob? Stop. Go back to coaching Appalachian State. Why don't you win something, Eli Drinkwitz? You won one big football game against a very depleted Ohio State football team. Again, hey, you won the game Saturday. Like Theo Weiss Jr. waving by the fence. I'm cool with that. It was personal for him. I get that. But you run your – stop. Not a big fan of Eli Drinkwitz. Talk a little bit about some of the games that I mentioned. Man, Colorado, I'm telling you, people's heads are going to freaking explode when Coach Prime and them make it to the playoffs. The way they're playing right now, Warren Sapp has those D tackles, that D-line playing really well, and people are going to be really upset when this team makes it to the playoffs. They control their own destiny. Utah at Kansas and a very bad Oklahoma State team. Colorado has a really good shot to be in the Big 12 championship game, and I think they could win the Big 12 championship and end up in the playoffs. And I know that would piss a lot of people off because they don't want to see Coach Prime successful, anything like that. But, I mean, they're winning football games right now, right? They hadn't won until they got there. Yes, they only won 4 last year. They're 7-2. Sometimes, man, you got to take the hater shades off and just be like, hey, well done, right? And they were down early. They could have been down 17-0 early in that game to Texas Tech. Texas Tech did lead 13-0 at one point. But then Shedeur Sanders, 30 of 43, 291, 3 touchdowns. Travis Hunter, another 9 receptions, 99 yards, 1 touchdown. Shiloh Sanders had a scoop and score. I mean, they're playing good football. They're playing good football. You can't you can hate the coach, whatever. But they're playing good football. And they have a really good chance to end up in the college football playoffs. And that's going to upset a lot of people. But I'm here for it. I think it'll be great to get Prime Shador. Oh, yeah. And here's the thing. I don't know where I would go on the Heisman Trophy Award now because of what Travis Hunter's doing. He's the leading receiver in the Big 12, a conference that has been dominated by receivers, right? He's leading the Big 12 in receiving. You know he's going to get the ball. He still had 9 catches for 99 yards and a tug. Shador Sanders playing better. I still don't think he's the number 1 quarterback in the draft. He might get taken day 1, depends on how he tests out stuff. We'll see. But he's playing well. The defensive line and the offensive line is what's really stepped up for Colorado, right? Overrated Colorado, to be honest. Maybe they are, but they're on a roll, right? They lost to a bad Nebraska team at the beginning of the year, got really pushed by North Dakota State, 31-26, and since then have really been playing really good football. That Kansas State game, and it was only a 3-point game. An interception by Shador. Kansas State wins that game. Kansas State was riding high at that point, but I can't take it from Colorado. I tip my hat to them, man. Of course, I'm old school. I remember back in the day when Dan McCarty had them roll when they were you had Cordell Stewart, Eric Bieniemy, Michael Westbrook. Like, you think about the old Colorado teams, man, those boys were nasty. Nasty. Again, we talked a little bit about it was Michigan, Indiana. Now, it wasn't as pretty as a lot of people were thinking it was going to be. You're expecting Indiana to kind of steamroll Michigan. But again, a good victory for the Hoosiers. At home, they're 10-0. Curtis Rourke, 17-28, not his best day, 206. Still had 2 touchdowns. And I like the makeup of this team. I like the makeup of this Indiana team. Kurt Cignetti is going to get a big contract. Big contract. If Miami loses tonight, that'll make the state of Florida from subdivision through Division I in the NFL winless. I hope they lose tonight. I like Matt Stafford, Puka Nacua, those guys that, I did see Tyreek Hill is going to be active, but that's hilarious. If Miami loses tonight, the whole state would have went over. Oof. That's bad. Bad. But again, in this game, man, I really like what I see from Indiana. Again, complimentary football. Each facet of the game is excelling for them. Now, they had 2 fewer first downs than Michigan. Still outgained them only by about 40 yards. Both teams had a turnover, but I like the makeup of this Indiana team, and they got a week off, man. They got a week off to prepare for Ohio State. I can't wait for that game. I'm excited about Indiana and Ohio State. Who knew? Like I was talking about last weekend, right at the end of the weekend, I was going to be excited about South Carolina Vanderbilt. If you told me beginning of the football season, Vanderbilt South Carolina would be a game that I was excited for, I told you were smoking the devil's lettuce. It ain't fitting. Speaking of South Carolina Vandy, South Carolina is a good football team. I think they are an underrated football team. Again, I've talked about it before. That game against LSU, I don't like how they lost that game. And again, I don't want to blame officials, but that was a very poorly officiated football game. South Carolina, I believe, had 2 defensive touchdowns taken off the board, but Lenore Sellers, freshman of the week, 14-20, 238 yards, 2 touchdowns. Rocket Sanders, another big day run the football, 15 carries, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns. Lenore Sellers had a couple of big runs, some getting out of the grasp of some Vanderbilt defensive players. Diego Pavia, 16-31, 166, no touchdowns, no interceptions. He did have a rushing touchdown, and it was a big one. I mean, it responded real quick to bring the game close. But then South Carolina just made the plays. And I'm going to tell you, that defense is really, really damn good. That defense for South Carolina is really good. And good for Shane Beamer. But yeah, they got Missouri this weekend. I will definitely be pulling for South Carolina. Willie B, I hope you get it crunked up. Sandstorm blaring, everybody having a good time, getting after it. Hell yeah. I'm here for it. That's why I can't wait next year. I'm trying to secure tickets to go watch Oklahoma at South, just because I want to see the environment. I want to see the environment, And as stupid as it sounds, I want to go hear all the damn cowbells at Mississippi State. Hear them ring, it's just stuff that I want to experience. But South Carolina, really good football team. Vanderbilt is a good football team. They're taking some tough losses now. They got to finish the season, with a tough stretch because they finished with, you look at their last couple games, lost to Texas, beat Auburn, lost to South Carolina, at LSU, which Alabama showed that it's not the toughest place in the world. They emptied that place out. Sorry, Cody. Tennessee, Tennessee, Vandy. How important is that game now? Ooh, so many different scenarios, and I'll go over more of those on our Friday night show, getting ready for the week. There's a lot of scenarios in the SEC. There's still a chance, I think, for 6 two-loss teams, something crazy like that. But South Carolina, Vanderbilt, South Carolina wins the game and really, really look good doing it. Another game in the SEC everyone was talking about, Georgia and the Ole Miss Rebels. I talked about it leading into the weekend, what team was going to show up for which university. Was it good Georgia or bad Georgia? Was it Ole Miss against Arkansas, or was it Ole Miss against Oklahoma for a hat? What team was going to show up, right? And I thought it was going to be doomsday for Ole Miss. Is right off the rip, Jackson Dart gets hurt. He's off the field underneath the tent, and like he walks into the back. I'm like, oh my goodness. Jackson Dart's out? That can't be good. But yeah, they're okay. Backup comes in, takes him down the field, scores a touchdown. I'm like, all right, here we go. And Ole Miss, man, played really good. Georgia, Carson Beck. Is there a guy whose stock has dropped more than Carson Beck this year? Jackson Dart is for real. Sunbelt, I love Jackson Dart. And you could tell he was so mad to miss that drive. But again, kudos to the backup. Always be ready. He came in, marched him down. They get a touchdown. But Carson Beck, man, he has just regressed so much this year. And like I said, I'm not going to get into his personal stuff, but you're dating an Instagram star. You're driving a Lambo on campus. Everyone talking about you should be, first day draft pick. I don't see it. His decision making to me does not say number one quarterback. It doesn't say first round draft pick. Something's not right with Carson Beck right now. And maybe it's because they're having to put everything on his shoulders because they can't get a ground game going. Right? I mean, Nate Frazier couldn't get 12 carries for 47 yards, 1 touchdown. Carson Beck, 20 of 31, 186, 1 interception. It was raining off and on in that game. It was kind of crazy. Says Quinn Ewers stock has dropped pretty hard, to be honest. Jane, I'll agree it's dropped, but I don't think as much as Carson Beck, because every one of the pundits, Mel Kiper, all those guys, they were all talking about Carson Beck is the best quarterback. And he just isn't playing like that. Isn't playing like that. Ole Miss with a big victory, right? Love to see it. If you look at the standings in the SEC right now, SEC standings, you got Tennessee, A&M, Texas all with 1 loss. Not the best. I mean, they got the final game with Texas, but they've got New Mexico State, Auburn, and Texas. I think that Texas game decides who goes to the SEC championship. Texas, their remaining schedule at Arkansas, which will be interesting because it is a old Southwest Conference rival. We know Arkansas, they're geared up to beat Texas because of the old Southwestern Conference stuff. But at Arkansas, Kentucky, and then at A&M. The A&M game is going to be that's going to be good. I'm excited about that game just because watching football and growing up, Thanksgiving week, we all knew Oklahoma, Nebraska, Texas A&M, like those guys. I love that tradition and I'm glad it's back. As a fan of football, I'm glad it's back. I know there's Texas fans out there that couldn't care less, and A&M fans that couldn't care less. But I'm glad it's back. I'm glad it's back. Speaking of the SEC, the other game, it was prime time. It was prime time. Alabama, LSU. You had Paul Skeens. You had Livy Dunn. Livy Dunn taking shots at Nick Saban during game, which I'm going to take a second to say this about game day. I don't know how anybody made it through game day without crying. The stuff with Kirk Herbstreit and his dog, it hits. And to watch him break up and be emotional like that, to see Lee Corso reaching over and like putting his hand on his shoulder, consoling him when he's helped Lee so much the last couple of years. But man, not a dry eye in sight. And it was tough. And I know I've got an 11-year-old dog, and so I know that day's coming. I don't want it to, but I know it's coming. But yeah, game day was good. And they always want to make you cry. I'll admit they got me. The Ben segment got me. And I'm not ashamed to say it. But Alabama LSU, was talking about they had a lion or a tiger on the field in a cage in a glass box. Didn't really do anything. I've never seen that stadium empty out so much. Fake ass Army cheerleaders. I always said, so James, I do the game day show in the morning. I do a young lady named Taylor Aarons. She is a big A&M fan. She used to be a Houston Texans cheerleader. And I asked her, I was like, how can you be a fan of A&M when you yourself were a professional cheerleader and root for a school that doesn't have any female cheerleaders? And she's like, well, they let them, cheer at basketball games and stuff now. I'm like, it's not football. The white suits, the yell, when they start talking yell practice, that's one of the cringiest things I've ever seen in my life. That's one of the cringiest things I've ever seen in my life. I think it's absolutely that's the ick for me, right? Can't do it. LSU, it was over, man. It was over early, and Jalen Milroe had himself a day. 12 carries, 185 yards, 4 touchdowns. Jalen was only 12-18 for 109 yards, but he didn't need to throw the ball. They just ran it all over him. Absolutely ran it all over him. Look at the total rushing yards. Alabama ran for 311 yards. That's almost as many total yards as LSU had. Nussmeier, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Again, having the turnovers. But Jalen Milroe is really good. Now, I was talking with a friend of mine out here. I'm here in Birmingham, and I was like, look, I don't know why they made the Oklahoma-Alabama game a night game. I don't know. Awful. Yeah, it's absolutely awful, James. Absolutely awful. I don't. And then when they come to people's towns and they have those yell practices and the guys are, with their painted up overalls, and I don't know. I can't get into it. If you like it, hey, that's your cup of tea. More power to you. Can't get into it. But Jalen Milroe, man, I was talking with a friend of mine here in Birmingham. I said, hey, you guys just take it easy on us, man. I mean, that game could get out of hand ugly. And he's like, well, Oklahoma's defense. I'm like, bro, we got cooked by Drew Pine, okay? Got cooked by Drew Pine. You had a chance. Oklahoma can't get any defensive backs over 6 foot. That's why Theo Weiss head top Mr. It's okay. It's okay. But Alabama's a damn good football team, and it's senior night that night in Oklahoma, so Danny Stutzman, those guys may have a little more extra juice, but we've seen what their offense can do and what their offense can't do. And that defensive line is a hell of a lot better than Missouri's. Now, I heard some people saying, hey, it's time to play Casey Thompson. But if I'm Casey Thompson, do I want to get hurt again? I mean, he's had the propensity for being hurt. Does he want to sit there and get smacked? I don't get the Jalen hate. I think they get absolutely, James. 100%. 100%. But again, out here in Alabama, I tell you, there was a lot more people who were more concerned about the shirt that Kalen DeBoer was wearing in that Vanderbilt loss. They're like, oh my God, you can see his nipples. So Kalen wins football games. And now Alabama's in a really good spot, right? If they don't falter down the stretch against Mercer, Oklahoma, and Auburn, two of the lowest ranked teams in the SEC, and then an FCS school, Alabama should have a chance to be in the playoffs. And I think, that's a team you don't want to see. It's a team you don't want to see at all. Now, I have to prepare myself to talk about this game. Oklahoma, Missouri. Missouri fans, I remember in 2008 when they won, stormed the field. I get it, 67-24, the all-time record. There was some war words on social media this year between the fan bases, everything. Like I said, I've never been a fan of Eli Drinkwitz. Never. I think he is a goober. Rick Moranis looking I can't. Not a fan of his. If I saw him, I'd probably dot him right in the face just because he's that annoying to me. Just hate him. But you go into the game, and as an Oklahoma fan, you're like, okay, you need this game. You need this game because you are not bowl eligible yet. More than likely, you're not going to get bowl eligible with Alabama and LSU on the schedule. So here's your shot. Drew Pine, Brady Cook, God love him, man. I respect his heart, his want to play, but he couldn't. But Pine came in the Alabama game and looked extremely mediocre. 3 interceptions. But Oklahoma also has the propensity for making backup quarterbacks look really good. Now, this isn't saying that Drew Pine had a phenomenal game. No. He only completed 14 passes, 3 of them for touchdowns. There's so many other questions in this game. So many other questions. Because at one point, here's what's crazy. So they ran a fake punt early, which is kind of like, ooh, you're having to start running fake, okay. Luke Azinga, the punter, had as many yards as Jackson Arnold in the first half. Taylor Tatum threw the touchdown pass to Jackson Arnold. Longest pass play. So your punter and a running back had the longest pass plays of the night for your offense. And I don't understand. Again, I'm not a coach, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn. But I've been around games enough. I've covered practices. I've talked to coaches. As you're watching the play, Spencer Brown for the University of Oklahoma is one of the worst offensive linemen I've ever seen in my life. You may be a great young man. You may be intelligent, but on the football field, that is not your forte, sir. On a 4th and short, how in the name of Zeus's butthole are you standing straight up? Right? How? You're not firing off I don't get it. I don't get it. But then you hear Brent Venables, and I'm going to get on to Brent because you saw the title of the show. Is it time to fire Brent? I'm going to get into that. All week, people are asking about the play of Eddie Pierre-Louis, EPL, Xavier Robinson, with how well Xavier looked. Xavier was a fun running back to watch when he was at Carl Albert High School. Another great running back. Mike Gaddis was at Carl Albert back in the day. So, again, a great lineage of running backs from Carl Albert High School. The Titans, Gary Ward, those guys. But Xavier Robinson comes in because Javonte Barnes didn't even make the trip. Xavier Robinson comes in, and it's working. He's railing off runs. 7, 8, 8, 7. And it's working. And then you get stupid and like, well, let's start passing. I don't get it. I don't get it. Play the best players that you can. Play the best players you can. And there has to be, I don't know what the coaching staff is looking at. When you're watching a guy whiff blocks the whole game, I don't get, why is he not off the field? Now, granted, you've had injuries. Okay, you got Deion Burks back. You got Jalil Farouk back. You probably, I mean, I feel bad for Deion Burks with that injury, that hit he took. Wasn't targeting to me. Thought it was a clean hit. But you really didn't, they got nothing, right? I mean, Deion Burks, 5 catches, Bauer sharp, and holy, can we? All right. I don't understand the Oklahoma offensive staff's love for Bauer sharp. He's not Travis Kelce. He's not Gronk. Why are we handing him a ball on a jet sweep? I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't understand why they try to find ways to get Bauer sharp the ball, and he continues to let you down. The best catch he made was the one in the back of the end zone against Ole Miss. But he's done nothing for you. Nothing. 1 carry, -7 yards. Good job, Bauer. You can't block. I don't know. Jalil Farouk only had 2 catches. Taylor Tatum had 2. Xavier Robinson had 1. Brennan Thompson had 1. 17 pass completions. One of them was to a quarterback. Jackson Arnold was 15-24, 74 yards. 74 yards. What happened to Sawchuck? My hopes for him were so high. Robinson, Stutzman, Farouk, and a few others deserve better than the pro. You're right. You're right. I mean, it's, with Danny Stutzman, with Billy Bowman, those guys that came back, yeah, they deserve better. But it's absolute garbage coaching. It's absolute garbage coaching. And this is what I'm going to say about the coaching. I can't sit there, and it hurts me because I'm a Brent Venables fan, right? I got to know him when he was at Oklahoma before. My previous job at the radio station, I talked to Brent numerous times. I love Brent Venables as a man. I think he is a great human being. I think he is a great defensive mind. But for 3 years, he has looked inept as a head coach at this level. Some of his in-game decisions, I don't understand. I don't like hearing, well, this isn't the standard that Oklahoma has, and that's on me to fix it. You've been saying that for 3 years. And let's look at facts. I texted people, look at facts. 2 blowout losses to Texas, to where you weren't even competitive in 2 of the games. Not even competitive. No bowl victories. In the softest schedule that Oklahoma has ever had, probably last year, you still lost to Kansas, Oklahoma State, and Arizona. And then this year, you've had to – it's crazy. Yeah. James and I talk all the time. Like I said, I love talking football with James. James, for those of you, James is a big Texas fan. And I love it because he's the only Longhorn fan that I can talk to that will talk ball, And we'll take playful jabs at each other like when Oklahoma and Texas are playing. But, like, James knows football. And that's why I like talking football with him. But, yeah, Latrell, I love – again, Latrell's a legacy. His dad won a championship at Oklahoma in the 70s. He won a championship 2000. You're like, yeah, you're coming back. But then I don't know where, because we have to admit, again, if you're watching ball, the offense has looked better than what it did under Seth Littrell. Now, the offensive line is just god-awful. That's one of the most putrid offensive lines I've ever seen. And Jacob Sexton's dad, if you're out there listening, you want to come attack me like you did Gabe Eichert, fine. Come at me. If it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, it's a damn duck. That offensive line sucks. Of course, Jackson, and again, Jackson he's so close to a critical error every game. And I think the lack of protection, because you go back and watch some of his film in high school, he never had that much pressure on him. I mean, go back and look at, I bring up old 1992 Washington, the Washington Redskins winning the Super Bowl. Mark Rippon. Do you consider Mark Rippon to be a great NFL quarterback? Hell no. He got sacked 4 times that year. 4 times in the NFL he got sacked. When you can sit back there and pick people apart, you're going to look good. Jackson doesn't have that time. Now, I don't know if he's going to stay at Oklahoma. I don't know if Michael Hawkins is going to stay at Oklahoma. Like, there's so much in flux right now, and that's why it pains me to say it. But unless you want to get back even further after another year, you've got to let Brent go. I mean, you find a way, and I've never been the guy that's like, fire him. I've never, especially to my team that I love rooting for, that I've covered, that I've been a part of. But watching the product for 3 years, seeing the ineptness, the deep Woody Washington. Why is Woody Washington still on the field too? Where's the development? Front 7 play extremely well. The front 7 plays extremely well. Back end, not so much. Game time, I mean, calling a timeout or wasting a timeout, I just, all his time management, all his decisions, I don't think Brent's the guy. And then that can also, I was talking with James, and my man Eddie Radosevich was talking about Joe Castiglione should be on the hot seat too. And I agree. Because outside, and this is not a knock on women's sports, so please do not take it like this, because I love Patty Gasso. I was a part of that program for a while. Got to call some of their games, play by play. Love the softball team. Love what KJ Kindler's done for the gymnastics program. Jenny Baranchik right now has a squad that's going to be competing in the SEC, the toughest division in women's basketball. I don't know if they're going to beat Dawn Staley in South Carolina or Mulkey in LSU, but they're a damn good basketball team. Porter Moser's not a good basketball team right now. But outside of the women's sports, what has Oklahoma done? You had one run with Skip where you made the College World Series. What I don't like is this, whoever Brent's agent is, good for you. You worked it well. But I think Oklahoma, you cannot afford another year of failure and setback, because then that will kill you in recruiting in the SEC. I'm going to tell you what, there's kids looking at South Carolina right now that probably never would have looked at South Carolina. But after that Texas A&M game, after some of the scenes, hell yeah, let's go to Willie B. Spurs up, right? I don't get it. You fired 2 of your coordinators within 3 years. You brought in Ted Roof. He was fired. Oh, by the way, Ted Roof has also been fired already again this year. That was your guy you brought in. And I hate it for Luttrell, but that offense was historically inept. Historically inept. Now, sounding like sour grapes, I get it. I don't have a lot of faith in Oklahoma beating Alabama or LSU. I don't. So then you've got no bowl. No bowl game. Right? You got lucky in that first year. Then you played Florida State in that Cheez-It Bowl. Again, the practices helped. You saw a little improvement, which gave us hope for the last season. You come in, have a chance. You beat Texas. Everyone's like, oh, here we go. Nope. Kansas, Oklahoma State, Arizona. This year you come out, you're not competitive against Texas. Struggle against Tulane. Struggle against Houston. And he's just going to come out and say the exact same thing. I need to be accountable. If you are accountable, if you love the program, then why are you not doing it? Why are you not doing it? You got Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman and these guys to come back and believe in you for what you have put in front of them for this year. And this is the product that you turn out. It goes to head coaching. In today's college football, head coaches are CEOs, right? You always hear they're CEOs. You've got general managers now. But if this is your brand, your product, and I love it, but I hate he's a John Blake. He's a John Blake. You bring back, but he didn't even play here. He coached here. And everybody wanted Brent to be successful. I'll admit, I wanted Brent to be successful. But now you look at it, you've got a quality defense. They're not elite. They are not elite. They are quality. A lot better than they've had in the last 20 years. They're not elite. But your offense went from elite to NAIA level. I mean, it's laughable at how bad the offensive line is. It's you watch it and you're like, how can you not take the pride to just get in front of somebody? Hell, tell them a story, do something. Occupy the defensive line's time. How does JFA go from the number one dual threat to the guy you can't trust to hold on to the damn ball? Put in Casey, run the wishbone. And I love Casey. And I love, I dealt with Charles for a long time, his dad. And I love Charles. Casey Thompson, his older brother played Oklahoma, then he went to Utah. But like I said, James, if I'm Casey, that's had so many injuries, do I want to get behind that line? I don't know if I want to be behind that line. Oklahoma Zoo. James, I've already talked. Harry, I got to ask you, Harry. Should Brent Venables be fired? Harry's a big Oklahoma fan. Should Brent Venables be fired, Harry? I need to know your answer. I didn't even listen to my guys out in Oklahoma today. I didn't. Because I knew how bad it was going to be. I couldn't do it. And then, damn it, Washington lost to the Steelers, another black and yellow team. Both my teams lost to black and yellow teams this week, but at least Washington was competitive. But again, the end of the Missouri game, it was absolute insanity. Oklahoma fights, claws. I love BV with all my heart, but you got to get a bowl appearance. Even a bowl appearance, there's something got to be done with the offensive line, Harry. They're not very good. But the end of the game, like I said, absolute insanity where Oklahoma come back, ties it. I was like, all right, they tied it. And then the fumble comes out and there's a scoop and score. And I'm like, what? They're going to do it. No. They march down the field. You got defender falling down. You get Theo Weiss head topping guys. And then the Jackson Arnold play. Like James said, the number one dual threat quarterback in the country. Can't even, he fumbled it once already in the game. Can't hold on to the damn ball. But the answer to the question, is it time to fire Brent Venables? I think you have to spend money to make money, right? I think donors need to come up with the funds. Let him leave. Or else you're going to put further behind. That's coaching. Also run the ball on second, last possession. Got to go to OT. I mean, maybe they thought, you're right. You're right. Go to OT. That's what I was kind of hoping for. But they had a shot, Do you think it's a bad coaching job by Venables, or are you not prepared? No, see, no. Vandy, no. Because it's not just the SEC. This team would have had the same record in the Big 12, Vandy. I think it is a bad coaching job. But all they told us, all leading up to this year, Vandy, they said Brent has been spending his whole tenure at Oklahoma getting the team ready for SEC football. Now, look, the defense has done their part in most SEC games, but the offense has been so inept. And I think Brent maybe spent too much time focusing on getting the defense turnaround where the offense struggled. But I don't think it's just because they're in the SEC. If they were in the Big Ten, it'd be the same. If they were in the Big 12, I think it would be the same outcome for Oklahoma this year. They're just not a good football team. They're not a good football team. Plain and simple. And it's not because they're in the SEC. Is it a more difficult proposition to get wins in the SEC? Sure. Absolutely. Is the competition ratcheted up? Absolutely. And I just, and living, I hear a lot of that, Vandy. People say, oh, you guys weren't ready for the SEC. We weren't ready for a football season this year. Plain and simple. Oklahoma was not ready to play football this year. It's a team, not enough time with the offense. Yeah, Harry, you're right. I don't think there was enough time spent with the offense. There's something going on with DeMarco Murray and his relationship with the running backs, and I don't know. I don't know, but I do think it's time to let Brent go. I hate saying it because I'm a Brent guy, but I think you've got to put your feelers out to somebody like Signetti or something like that, and try to bring somebody in. Don't have another nepotism hire. Who's the replacement? The guy in Indiana? What's his buyout? Either way, you're looking at close to $100 million because the new coach and assistant will buy it. It is a shit show. You're 100% right. You're 100% right. But do you come up with that? No, Harry. No, Lane Kiffin's not coming to Oklahoma. No. I'll put a kibosh to that real quick. Signetti, I think that's your number one target. You got to go after a guy like Signetti. I'm going to tell you, who I think would be. You and I have talked about it a couple times. I think UTSA's Traylor could be a good coach. I think Brian Vincent at ULM could be a really good coach. Traylor. I love Jeff Traylor. The recruiting footprint he'd have in Texas, throughout the whole state of Texas, yeah, that'd be big. He has a lot of really good relationships with high school teams there in the state of Texas. But like I said, Vincent, I don't know if they'd want to have another BV, but right now, what I'm hearing from Brent Venables, this isn't the standard. That's the new we're close from Lincoln Riley. That's what it is. We're close. You're not close. You can't block a soul. Nobody. And it's embarrassing. I told my friend Toby Rowland, who's the OU play-by-play guy, does the morning show out in Oklahoma. I said, okay, there you go. Golden Boot, man. Hey, you guys need to turn to the Golden Boot. CJ Taylor, the safety from the Vanderbilt Commodores, is going to come on to the Golden Boot. Go over and check them out. When he's hard. Trailer's a good choice. If it's not OU, someone will go after him. You're probably right. It's frustrating. Now, I do have to tell you the dumbassery that is me. So, last night, what's up, Dom? Hey, we're in misery together, man. Dom's a Florida State fan. Whew. We're in misery. Oklahoma and Florida State have gone downhill from that Cheez-It Bowl, man. They have gone downhill. What about another homie of the hype man? No, I think Shane's happy in South Carolina, and I don't think anybody happy bringing back a former coach. I don't, especially with what just happened here with BV. But I've got to tell you what happened before I get out of here. So last night, yeah, $9 million. Yep, FSU is an easy fix. Hire me. Well, I know they fired a couple people already. But last night, we're watching football, the family. Little bourbon, watching football. And I talked to my son, like, what do you want for dinner? He's like, I want to make homemade fried chicken sandwiches. Bet. So we got the oil, marinate, buttermilk, little hot sauce, buttermilk, some garlic, some kosher salt, stuff like that. Really, really let those chicken breasts marinate. And I'd cut them, so they weren't huge. Put them in the oil. And I've got an electric stove. I wish I had a gas. Really can't control it, and it burnt, right? What do you make of Bob sleeps between multiple aisle users? No, he's not. No. Believe me, after here, he's on the radio station back home 2 times a week. He's not coaching again. He just loves Iowa. It's where he played ball. I mean, he's a Hayden Fry guy, right? Just up there. So no, I don't think there's any chance he's coming back coaching college football at all. But so I make the sandwiches that the chicken actually burned because you can't control it. So I was already upset about that. Harry says Bob to OU. No, he's not coaching OU again. So we scrapped it. And what do? We used our emergency pizza from Domino's. Okay. So we're getting ready to go. And I thought the oil was cool or had cooled off. So there's a place where I go and dump it. And as I'm going to dump it, I set it on this rail and I went to turn it or like turn my hands and the pot drops. Hot fry oil everywhere. I try to move as fast as my fat ass can move, but it has my right leg from midway point. So it's like halfway down my leg. If you cut my leg right down the middle, half of it is this bright purplish red where the oil was. There's a couple little burn blisters on there. But thank God my wife is a nurse. We kind of triaged it, little water, a little aloe vera, stuff like that. But yeah, not smart. Not smart. And I tell my sister, I'm like, yeah, your brother's a dumbass. And she's like, well, yeah, I know. Be careful with oil, guys. You don't want to burn yourself because this sucks. I promise. But I want to thank all of you for coming here. I want to thank all of you for joining in. Like I said, if you like talking ball, 8:30, go check out the Golden Boot podcast, guys. They do a great job. George, Cody, Chris, they got CJ coming on from Vanderbilt. So they got active live guys coming on. So yeah, stay tuned for that at 8:30. Also, don't forget Friday, we'll have Friday Night Football. I'll break down I forgot to go to my give them a 6 or 6 picks. I was 3 for 3, right? Lost Indiana. Damn it. Lost Georgia. Alabama more than covered. Oklahoma, you let me down. Yes, Terry, they fixed the Facebook issue, Terry. Hey, Terry, I want to say this to you. I don't know if Vandy served. I know James served. But for all the veterans out there, happy Veterans Day. Thank you for your service. As a veteran myself, very proud of being a veteran, very proud of my service in the military. I got to see him do things I never would have had a chance to do, help me grow up immensely. But yeah, my time in the Navy, I really liked it. Thank you, Terry. I appreciate it. I saw your picture, man, on Facebook. I was never in any areas like that, but flight deck of an aircraft carrier. James, no, he's a Marine, Semper Fi. I sent him the Naval Academy's dress blue uniforms they wore, which to me are one of the best football uniforms I've ever seen in my life, ever. Won Colorado, and I won my lock of the week. My lock of the week is now 8-3. I'm 8-3 on locks of the week. Okay, so if you were just playing money on that, I'm winning you money. Now my overall record, I think I'm right around 500. So it's been kind of a push for the year. I'd have to do some final tallying and stuff like that. But I know I'm 8-3 on my locks of the week. So feeling good about that. But guys, that's going to do it for me tonight. I hope you guys have a great Monday. If you're going to watch Monday Night Football, I hope you're enjoying that. Matthew Stafford, the Rams, taking on Tyreek Hill, Tua Tagovailoa, and the Dolphins. And the Dolphins up early, 10-0 in that one. So we just got to make sure that little Tua doesn't get hurt. Oh, what about Jack Del Rio real quick? You big dumbass. Oh, so bad. Now, I will say this is sad. John Robinson, great coach, former USC football, former Rams coach, passes away at the age of 89. One of the best to ever do it. He was a great coach. Can't take nothing from him, but rest in peace, John. Rest in peace, Ben. Like I said, that was really moving at game day. It was really moving. And I'm glad that Kurt has another dog up there for him. And it was really touching. And I'll tell you this, there's some of you may not like Pat McAfee on game day. I think Pat McAfee saved game day, to be honest. I think McAfee has saved it. And his interactions with Nick Saban, I was like, what's this shit? You know, they're having a good time. They're having a good time. But guys, that's going to do it for me. Stay tuned for the Golden Boot, 8:30. They're on after me every Monday and Friday. And don't forget, on Saturday morning, we have our game day show. Taylor Arenz and myself will be talking about some of the most important games out there. We'll look at the playoff bracket. That's going to come out tomorrow. The new playoff bracket. We'll see how that's kind of shift around. Possibly SMU in that ACC spot with Miami losing. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. Season's almost over, guys. I can't believe there's only like 3 games left. For Oklahoma, there's only 2 games left. Can't believe the season's already almost over. It's gone by so fast. It's the only thing I hate about college football. You wait for it, it gets here, then it's gone. But everybody, I hope you have a great rest of your evening, and I will see you guys back on Monday for the Football Friday Night Show. Remember, guys, always positively move forward.
Thanks for joining us on this delicious journey through the world of sports and food on Sports Bites with your host, Chris Joseph. We hope you've enjoyed the game day stories and culinary adventures. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. And if you've got any mouth-watering sports-related tales or favorite game day recipes, share them with us on social media. Until next time, remember, it's not just about the game. It's about the bites that make it unforgettable. Stay hungry for more Sports Bites.